It's just different.
Hopeless at one point and then having an opportunity to make you go harder, make you get in that booth and just really express that hopelessness. Like, man, y'all don't understand. This is like, you know what I mean? You dig from a different place. That bottom of your soul, that pit, homie, where you felt like the shit was, you know what I'm saying? You always wanted, but it looked like it was just not gonna happen.
Shit, in your mind it ain't gonna happen, shit, it probably won't. I took some risks, some people probably won't. That's how we're grateful for the fruits of all my labor. Hard to live and know you sick, I'd rather be with my creator, thinking time's up.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Foreign Sight Podcast. It's your host, Mike Obi.
It's your boy, London Ogletree, back for some more gems. What's up, my guy?
Not a thing, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm having a great time. So I've been off. Well, technically, I worked from home on Friday, but that's a really relaxing day for me. And you got Memorial Day. Is that Memorial Day or July 4th?
July 4th.
Yeah, see, I don't know my days, but July 4th. So I got like a 4-day weekend, then I'm going out of town next week. So I can't complain.
Yeah, long weekend and, get to relax, take your foot off the gas pedal, both you and I. So just now another time and opportunity to bring some gems to the people.
Yeah,
all right.
Get my mind right. So.
Exactly. So before we get into that, obviously, we appreciate all of you guys who continue to rock with us, continue to support us. And we ask you to continue to do so by leaving us a 5-star rating on all your listening platforms, Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts, as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel and turn on your post notifications so you can catch all the gems when they drop. All right. So this week's episode, we're going to go in a different direction. We've been trying to really diversify the content, not just talk about one particular thing for you guys. And so this time it's time to get into some real talk and some reflection. So a lot of people are bought into this hustle culture nowadays and self-improvement. But my question really is, are they doing it with the right intentions in mind? So just off that premise alone, what are you thinking?
That's a good question. Like intentions, what was okay, one more time?
So a lot of people are bought into hustle culture, self-improvement, becoming the best versions of themselves.
Right.
If you talk to most people, they're living by some type of model of love yourself, be your best self, live your best life, attain peace, attain something where, you're striving towards a positive outcome. But my question is, do they have the proper intentions in mind? Do they really mean what they say, or are they just doing it because it sounds good to them, or maybe they're trying to escape from something that they really are not at peace with, is my question.
I think it's a little bit of both. It could be they're trying to escape something maybe from the past and move on from it, but it's hard for them to escape that. Mm-hmm. But like, I see what they're trying to go into that narrative and try to escape anything that they have had in the past and move on and try to have that positive mindset. But at the same time, as we spoke on other episodes, you're not truly going to get over something unless you've properly healed. So I think they also could be doing it for just attention as well. So I just think you have to really sit down. It's such a hard thing. Your mental is so strong, and like it can really break you down in so many ways if you do not take care of your mental health. So it could be a lot of those things of kind of like all the self-improvement and like all that culture and stuff. But I think a lot of this social media air is so heavy on people, whereas like they feel like they have to be, like I talked to a numerous amount of women who are like their social media or like their culture and like, why is this not happening? Why is this not happening? I'm like, trust the process, trust this, and it will come. But it's so hard because you see so many other people moving 50 miles per hour and they think that they have something they don't. And they thinking that their self-improvement isn't as much as the other person because they're comparing. And I think that comparing is going to mess you up mentally. You got to be comfortable in your head. And so by you not having that mindset and that mental health of every day of telling yourself, take it a day at a time, take it a day at a time, you will drive yourself insane. But I do think, to answer your question, I do think they're trying to improve. It's just hard because I don't think they take the proper steps.
I 100% agree, and like you kind of spoke it from the ladies' perspective, and I agree with what you said. And I think from the guys' perspective, it's kind of one of the same. Like us, me and you were both in our 20s, right? And they always said that the 20s is a time for you to keep your head down and grind. And for many people, they say like, oh, your 20s don't necessarily suck, but you don't see the fruits of your labor pay off really too much. You're kind of putting in the work, and you're kind of just grinding and grinding, grinding, and you're trying to get to a point where when you hit your 30s or whenever you hit a certain point, you can kind of relax and you can kind of see things pay off. But I think that's the problem, is when you're in the present moment, you don't see a lot of the things that you're working towards, that you're striving towards, coming to fruition. And so you look around you, and it's like, especially for me, I can speak on myself. I have a lot of people who are older than me. I have a lot of older friends. So it's very easy to look at what they have, and it's like, man, why don't I have that yet? You know what I'm saying? And kind of look down on yourself. But then it's like, well, they started here, and they had this. They also had to go through it. And that's kind of the thing of like me kind of asking them, especially like my dad, my older brother, my older mentors, it's like, what were y'all thinking about at this age? Or what did life look like? And then they kind of would tell me, it's like, well, we were kind of in school, kind of grinding, doing what you're doing. So that's kind of the thing that helps keep perspective, is like everybody who is about something, who has something, had their little time where they had to go through the trials, and it's not fun in that moment. But again, if you keep on staying the course, keep on believing in yourself, like you just said, and like I've always tried to kind of talk to younger dudes too about, is like you just got to keep on staying the course, and eventually it'll pay off, as long as you keep on improving every single day. You know what I'm saying?
And I think with men, our side of it is very for self-improvement. We have I think women care about what other people, I mean, I think everybody does that. I was gonna say men I think men care about what other guys say in a whole, like, we live in a society and we live in a generation where if you work a 9 to 5, or you are respectful to your woman, if you hold her hand or you say babe, or there's not too much anymore with the babe and stuff like that, but like, if you sit there and say, yeah, that's my girl, they're gonna be like, don't do that, she too friendly, or she this and this. A lot of guys would change their mindset because what another dude said around them, or this and this, because they don't feel comfortable in their skin about whatever. And I've been there, and I'm sure a lot of people have been there, where you like kind of listen, but at the end of the day, you got to do what makes you happy. But I think that's what guys got to improve on with the whole self-improvement, is just like, we don't have to always have our egos just that high. Like, I've taken a big step back, and it's still hard, but I think a lot of people is just like, we got to fix that as men, and then women got to fix the other side of, don't worry about what all these other girls or everybody else is doing. Y'all gonna get y'all stuff. And then same with guys, we're gonna get to the top by taking it day at a time, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is 100% true. It's like, for guys, you have to be very mindful and cognizant of whose opinions you take into account. First off, understand who you are as a person, who you are as a man. What kind of life do you want to live? And then it's important to, I would say, find people who live that same life. Like, if you're a person who wants to just have a normal life where you have a family, you work your job, you come home, and you're able to kind of spend time with that, but you're taking, advice from a person who lives a lifestyle like a Dan Bilzerian, let's say, for example. I mean, you guys' values, you guys' lifestyles, you guys' trajectories, the way you guys are going to walk and kind of get to your goals are going to be different. They're not going to be aligned. Like, that's just the reality of it. So if you're looking at what you want, but you're taking it from a person who doesn't, see life the same way, you're probably going to be quite confused. And then, I think also money talks to men, I get it. We're very, kind of objective and analytical from that aspect. So it's like, if we don't have X amount of dollars, if we don't make this out, like, this is big now, everybody has to make 6 figures, which, I mean, you should always be striving to be the best at what you are. But some people's purpose, some people's lives, some people's jobs, some people's careers aren't going to make that level of money. That doesn't mean that you have no value as a person. I think that's where culture kind of gets it wrong. It's like, just because you don't make X dollars doesn't mean that you don't have value as a human being, or that you're not a good person, not a good man, or you can't provide. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. People get told what they have to do in order to be successful. And if everybody's markers for success is kind of uniform across the board, then you have to try to strive to be the best and to reach those markers, I guess. For women, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of what social media kind of tells women they have to be and what they have to strive for. I mean, again, this would be more so necessary for what women, when we have women on the show and we kind of ask them. But for them, I just, like you said, don't get so caught up in what, your girlfriends think, but rather what do you want? And don't be so influenced by what your surroundings tell you.
Preach. That just don't be worrying about what your girlfriends tell you and have your own mind. Thank you.
Exactly. So now we get into, people's journeys. I mean, I think most of how people get caught up into the journey of self, development is largely going to be based out of a response to some type of traumatic event, whether it's, stressful upbringing, stressful family, maybe it's going through a breakup, going through heartbreak, going through rejection. And I think for guys, especially, rejection is one of those things that really kind of fuel people to be better, because in a way it should. I mean, I agree with that, is that when you're rejection, like it's I think the way that you take it or the way that you process it, right? There are some people who say, okay, you know what, this job, let's say, didn't want me, maybe I didn't have the qualifications, let me go try to get some work experience. There's a way of like, okay, I don't have this, let me go get it. And then there's a way of like, oh, they didn't want me, I'm inadequate as a human being, I'm not good enough. I think a person's mental predisposition is important on how they handle events. What do you think?
No, yeah, I think it's about, like you said, the traumatic events that's happened, and it always starts off with, like you said, stress breakers, rejection, but also go back to what you see in your household. So that's how it starts. It starts off from what you see your family. So if you grew up in a good, like we said, in good household and stuff, you're probably gonna be able to be good at like relationships. You're probably gonna be good at like not really handling stress, but like you're being more, to me, I think if you grew up in a good household where your family seeing your dad, mom, kids love you, this and this, you're going to be bound to see a better relationship. But the downside, you're not going to be able to handle trials and tribulations as well as I believe. Like stress might hinder you more. Somebody who yells at you might affect you more because you've never seen it. On the flip side of it, if you've seen something in the household, kind of how I seen it, it made me tough. It made me be able to handle stress. It made me be able to handle things like that. Like when a coach yell at you or something, like that doesn't really affect me. So I think the only thing that I had to experience that I didn't was that breakup. But after that, that goes into the breakup side of it. So once you experience trauma in your childhood or younger age, or you get bullied or whatever, or you go through a crazy breakup, none of those are ideal of what you want. So I think all those they begin their journeys through one of those. And I think that's what makes a person them. And if you can get out of those ruts, then I think your journey becomes very successful.
One of the things I've always wondered is what is the difference, or what do you think at a person's core, like a person who maybe comes from an impoverished background and is able to overcome that and become successful? You look at most of the millionaires, we talked about this previously, they have a tough upbringing and then they're able to become successful later on down the line, versus a person who maybe comes from a wealthy family and then they, shit hits the fan for them later on in life, where they get caught up in addiction, drugs, whatever the case may be. Like they don't get the success that was expected upon. What do you think happens there at that crossroads that, kind of enables one person to overcome adversity versus a person who's not able to? What do you think it is at that core?
Because that person who was in poverty had to overcome so many obstacles at a young age, whether you don't know your father, your mom's, you could be on drugs. You got to go to school with uniforms, going through metal detectors. You might get in beef with somebody. You might get in an argument with somebody. You don't know if you got to wash your back going to school. School's supposed to be a safe place, but it's like at this like time in these areas and like the hoods and stuff, it's not a safe area. So it's like, should I even go to school? Because I could get killed there. So my person that I have problems with knows I'm coming to school every day. Should I even go to school? They don't have the proper resources. What is my next meal going to be? My mom only gets paid on the first, and she says if she gonna fill up the refrigerator, 7 of us, and if that doesn't work, then if we can't eat to the next first. So we got a whole 30 days where we can eat. So if we eat all this food before the 15th, we got 15 more days to that. So they have to improvise and they have to learn at a young age versus if you come from a wealthy family, which is great, you might not have to go through those trials and tribulations. And by you not having that, one little bad thing that happens to you might just throw you off the rails. And by that happening, you might go on drugs and then you might just blow money. You might go gamble. You might go drink because you have access to more things.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have access to more things, let me go buy this hardcore drug and then, oh, I like this feeling. Okay, let me go gamble. Let me go drink and let me just keep doing that. And by that time, you be like, oh, I just let myself go. I had so much going on for me. But that person who, and don't get me wrong, there's people who are in poverty who give up just like that as well. But the people who do come out of it, they're so strong is because they've seen a lot. So I think that's the two differences.
Yeah, I like, the saying is more money, more problems. I think money comes with heightened problems where it's like everything is compounded. It's not like nothing can be just a minor crisis. It's like the things that do hit the fan, they hit them to the point where everything's busted, because like for me, being a person who was always kind of like in the middle, so to speak, and kind of I was around people who were poor and who had money. A lot of people who had money would come to me and be like, why don't they just work harder? Why don't they just do this? Why are they so distracted? I'm like, you got to think about it. The priorities are different, right? This person, like you said, may not be able to eat. So, okay, is he going to be more concerned about, turning in some assignment or being able to work so that way he has food on the table for his mom, especially if they come from a single, like you don't know a person's background is my whole thing. So I always made it an importance to me not to judge, but rather like, okay, I get it. This person comes from that background. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that they have different priorities. And then, a person who came from a wealthy background always was kind of like, okay, well, how does your family run? Is there anything deficient? I kind of just like tap into that. Like my whole thing is about getting to understand people and understanding where they're coming from and their mental and why they think the way that they do. Because if you get to why people think that they do, then you kind of understand their decisions. Now you may not agree with everything that they end up doing, but I can understand. That's why I don't like. I've always kind of been mild-mannered, and I think why people have like gravitated towards people like myself, yourself, because we have that ability to be able to say, okay, I get where you're coming from. Now, do you ever see it this way? Like we were big on this. Did you see it this way? Did you ever think of it this way? And I think that's where, like, even with us having a show now, people don't look at our opinions as like, oh my gosh, how could you think something like that? It's like, okay, I didn't think about it that way,
I always told people in Katy, when I moved to Katy from Detroit, I said, if your parent, I guarantee we're all kids at the same time. Y'all stay up to 12:01 and you got to wake up at whatever, 5 or 6 to go to high school, whatever. If your parents did not wake you up and you walk you through this and they gave you that proper parental guidance, you would probably skip a lot of school yourself. So when you go back to this side that I'm from, their parents don't care. If they don't wake up, their parents sleep. So it's like the kids ain't gonna get up. The parents don't care. The kids not gonna care. And then this is a touchy subject because I agree with women 100% with the Roe versus Wade situation with the abortion. I'm 100% on this. I don't think nobody should be able to decide for that. But if you really look at it, people in poverty damn near had that forever because they can't afford abortions. Yeah. So I've always told everybody that it's easier because I've gotten an argument with a girl like a long time ago. She was like, why are these people having all these kids? They can't afford them. I'm like, well, we all mess up as people. We're all human beings. We all mess up. So it's like, why can't, the only difference is maybe your dad or your mom can afford that and this side can't. So they're stuck with having that kid. Okay, now, did they learn that decision? They should try to learn from it, but you can't, like I said, everybody's an individual. We all mess up. Yeah. So it's like, I think you just gotta, like you said, put yourself in somebody else's shoes and kind of see where they're coming from. You don't gotta agree with it, but you can say, okay, well, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I didn't think he was out here just trying to just have 15. Nobody's coming out, I want to have 15 to 20 kids, like, unless you just want them. But I think that's the problem in this world, is like nobody wants to put themselves in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, that ability to have empathy is severely lost or lacking, or not taught. And I mean, I remember back in college, those lectures that we used to have, those lectures slash debates, with that, yeah, that topic of abortion used to come up now, and that got touchy because it's like it's really a foundational opinion, right? And so like, one of the things that we would kind of talk about is that, well, you look at people who are impoverished, right, who don't go to the best schools, and so they don't go to the best schools. They don't have the education. They don't know about sex education. That doesn't get taught to them. They don't have access to contraceptives. They don't have access to, like, look, if you do this, you could get pregnant. A baby could come with that. They don't know that. They just are doing what they're doing, right? And so as a result, kids happen, and then like you just mentioned, they can't afford to go get the abortion, so they have to go through with having. They don't have a choice, right? Now, you know is it right or wrong? I mean, that's on a person's opinion, and that's on a person's, kind of moral compass and values. But as far as what the reality is these people, if you go to these areas, and I think that's a lot of it too, is that people aren't seeing it for themselves. Like, they don't know. Most of them don't know any better.
Yeah.
They just are doing, and they're just living lives as humans. Humans' natural tendency is to procreate and to have babies, have children, have families. They're just doing it on a very primal tendency, in my opinion. So that's a good one. I mean, we could definitely touch on that on another episode, because that's a great point you brought up. All right, so now it's important to have, and healthy, I think, to have a battery in your back that fuels you to be better. But is it also healthy to have motivation fueled out of some type of hate or disdain, or some type of anger, or some that kind of fueled you out of anger? You think so? All right, well then go into it.
I definitely think you should feel. I thrive on this, y'all. I was so happy to see this on the agenda, because I thrive off of turning my anger and hurtness into motivation and success.
Right.
Maybe it's the competitor in me, or maybe somebody can say, well, you're still hurt. I don't care. I'm not saying like I'm not motivated by myself and have that battery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a you will regret what you did person. And maybe that's bad, but that's just me. So my ex left me with the whole situation. I was wrong with some shit, but like the whole thing was, I thought, oh, so you're gonna just leave me when stuff get hard. So I just had a battery in my back that, okay, well, they don't believe that I can be this. They don't believe I can be successful. They don't think I can make this. So I have to go do that. And it made me work every single day to do it. And now that I'm there, I said, well, I guess you don't really get nothing from it, but at least you just prove something to yourself. But like, it's you make yourself more crazier, but at the same time, you get to the success point where you need to be anyway. So I guess you do drive yourself crazier at the time. So when you do get to that destination, it's like, oh, was it really worth kind of using them for that motivation? No, but it made me get there. So, I mean, not only because of them, but, or for example, if a girl does something crazy and then they, whatever. So you got to use, or whoever, guy, friend, whoever, just, I think you should use people as motivation. It's okay to use, but I don't think it should be purely just motivation for you just to be successful. Like, if you have no problems, then don't just be a bum. But like, if you do, it's okay to use that as well to kind of spark some fuel.
Nah, but that's 100% true. I mean, again, I think even, you look at some of the hero movies, some of the heroics, some of the action, TV stars, even our favorite athletes, I think there's some level of heroics and redemption that kind of draws us, towards, overcoming adversity and towards revenge. I mean, even me, like, there was football taught me that. I understood like that level of drive and obsession came from that, and my competitiveness, and like, being told, oh, you're not going to be good, you suck, that type of stuff like that kind of is like, oh, okay, y'all motherfuckers are going to doubt me. Okay, bet, watch, it's like that. Even when I got into powerlifting, it was like, I was 19 years old and had pretty good numbers for 19. Like, I almost broke state records. And like, when I would lift weights, and like people would look and they'd be like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, seriously. And I'm like, bro, it's nothing. I'm competitive. Like, I don't know how to tell you, and I don't know how to turn it off either. Or like, I think like even a sport like boxing, UFC, that draws on people to kind of tap into that anger aspect of their brain, that primal, sort of like fight or flight response that I think, while people say it's not good and maybe not healthy, there's a level of obsession and draw that it brings to people. So like for me, I think that it's important to have something that fuels you. Like, because for me, that was probably like that time where I was the most motivated. That's one of the most motivated times, was when I was trying to get my spot back on football, or I was trying to go and win powerlifting meets. Like there's that competitiveness that, draws us to be the best version of ourselves. But I think you have to keep perspective on why you're doing what you're doing. You're trying to become successful. I think when people get carried away and they get so consumed with, revenge, or some consumer consistently lose sight on why they're doing what they're doing, that's where it can get a little unhealthy, in my opinion.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
But you should at the same time.
Oh yeah, no. No, definitely. You gotta tap into that demon. I always say that, because the fact of the matter is, like, I always say, people aren't going to see you while you're in your journey, while you're in the darkness. So while you have that time to be to yourself and really try to get to your best version, it's okay to be obsessive. It's okay to draw on that anger. You know what I'm saying? And just, but as long as you don't bestow, any of those problems onto anybody else, you keep it to yourself, and you're able to kind of lock in whenever you need to have an outlet. You have it there in a healthy manner that you can kind of release it and then stay focused. But yeah, definitely, it's all about perspective.
All about perspective. That is the word of the day, perspective.
Yes, sir. All righty. Now, so just kind of, we've already started to get into it. Kind of, what are some of the things in your past? I know you talked about your past relationships, but even other things. What are some of the things that today drive you to be better, in your opinion?
Today, as
Yeah.
in today, of course, family, friends. I owe myself, short and simple. I owe myself greatness. I've always told myself, I was always intrigued with money. It's weird. Like, it's not like I was just like obsessed with it, but I was like, I've always wanted to be, like, as friends in middle school. Like, I don't know how you have this mindset at a kid in middle school. I mean, but there's a lot of kids that have this story who was selling candy and stuff, but like, I'm not gonna say I took it to another level, but like, it got to a point where I would go to Sam's Club, buy a bulk. I'll get the Hershey's white chocolate ones. I get the Snickers. I get all 5 different kinds of Skittles, Sour Patch straws. I just love to have money. And then, like, as a kid, like, my dad was like, have a job at, I think, what can you get a job? Could you get what job? How old was I at?
16 usually.
I think that my dad taught me about just hustling at a young age. Like, he flips homes in Detroit. So he has kind of similar to you. Like, that's why I said I like that you have that mentality about, like, your parent, no matter how grown you are right now, your parents is like, come help me with this yard, come help me with this, come do this. And it's like, it builds a structure. I don't care what nobody, it builds a structure that nobody else can have by having this foundation. You say a lot of people aren't like us. I feel like the structures that we have, and I'm not saying our structure is right or only correct, but I think we respect everybody around us, and we give everybody the same respect no matter what. Like, we do get moody, we do get mad, but I'm gonna respect the garbage man or the janitor the same way as I'm gonna treat me a vice president or a president of a high up company. I don't care who you are. At the end of the day, I'm gonna treat you with respect because you're a human being. So I just told myself I move with these principles, morals, and values, and I owe myself nothing but greatness. And but by getting that, you got to be respectful to everybody, because you don't know who you're talking to. Like, this janitor could, like, I was one day in Katy. I was sitting in the freshman center, and this guy was changing the light bulb. I mean, even though he's not going to help me, but it was like, you just never knew who you could talk to. So he was like, Trader Truth. At this time, I didn't know who the heck Trader Truth was in Houston, because I just moved here kind of. And I was like, nah, he's like, I'm his dad. But like, long story short, say I was a rapper or something, and I try to get my career going, and I just had a conversation with him. And then that could have took my career to a whole different level. I'm just giving you an example. But like, somebody was like, why is this guy talking to me? He doing this, he doing this. I think you should just treat everybody around you with respect, and then that will also bring you success if you're helping other people around you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I always say that first impressions are everything. You never know who you're meeting. You never know who you're interacting with. So it's always important to make sure that you carry yourself, and most important, you treat others with respect. You never know who that is. And it's just it's always a means of karma coming back and biting you. Like I'm big on karma, so you don't want to ever like leave a bad taste in someone's mouth, and then all of a sudden that could spiral out of control. And all you had to do was just simply not be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Being respectful is fine, or being at least courteous of others. Like it's not too much to ask. That's always been the way that I've walked. But from my end, I mean, what drives me is just sort of, I mean, there's a selfish aspect of it as far as like me wanting to prove doubters wrong. You know, even like even people close to you who don't see your vision. It's like, all right, I'm gonna show you, and you're gonna watch, and because I expect high things for myself. So it's that level of competitiveness that on one end, but then it's also, you know, just the unknown and being able to you know, have untapped potential and kind of just driving and striving and seeing how far I can take things, how far I can take the podcast, how far I could grow with it, how far I can take the fragrance hobby and, you know, growing that, and, you know, just seeing how many people you can kind of teach and, you know, sort of inspire to do their own things. You never know who you can help, and then all it takes is one, and then one can, you know, influence the many. You know, is my whole thing. You know, because I just like, money is great, and, you know, I'm into money, and obviously I expect whatever I do to, you know, be able to fund my lifestyle and help me, you know, live great so I can be around my family and we can always be able to not be hungry and shit. But, you know, I think people get so consumed with, oh, my money is my validation. It's like, nah, man, I'm never gonna see it that way, you know. But yeah, definitely, it's all about just achieving goals. And honestly, I always say too, one like kind of deep down one is, I always say now at 25, I feel like I'm paying the cost for not believing in myself when I was younger. Because there are a lot of things where it's like I look up and I'm like, if I had started this back then, I could have been exponentially greater. But I didn't see the vision back then. I see it now. And so now I'm trying to get it off the ground. So I always say it's on me to not ever let myself, you know, have that level of doubt again. You know, so now I'm really trying to tackle these things head on, and as a means of also being able to say, like, if I could do it, anybody can do it. You know what I'm saying? It just takes belief and dedication and persistence and consistency.
No, honestly, that's all it is. Like a lot of people don't even. I told my homegirl who just hit 10K on IG,
Hmm.
and we have this conversation all the time. I said, "Girl, you got." Cause I remember when she made her IG, she had an old one because she's from Katy.
Hmm.
She had an old one and she made a new one, and then she got to 4K kind of easy. I'm like, 4K ain't easy just to get to. Like, I'm still trying to get to 2, and I'm like, so it's like the fact she got to 4K, and then she got to 6K, and like she was stuck at like 5 to 6K for like a good little 4 to 5 months, 6 months. But I'm like, that's not even that. I said, just trust your journey. She's like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if people are really. I said, see, you're worrying about what other people are talking about and doing, and you're not staying on your grind. And she posted one video, and her stuff took off to 10,000. I think she's at like 11,000 now. And then she has companies reaching out. I said, what did I tell you? I said, stay the grind, stay the journey, and watch what happens.
Well,
You can't compare yourself to other people because they're getting flowers. Celebrate those flowers with you. Like if Obi blew up, right? Say Obi blew up right now on his IG. I'm not gonna sit here and be mad at me and be like, man, why I'm not? I'm gonna give my homeboy his flowers. I'm gonna give Blake his flowers, and then the rest will come. You don't gotta be down because somebody else is doing great too. Your time gonna come too. It just, I think a lot of people are just selfish.
yeah, facts.
Yeah, everybody want to be at the top. Like, take your time. Like, it's gonna come.
People bought into the idea that in order for me to eat, I have to have other people starve. I'm like, bro, we all can break bread. Like, I'm just always gonna believe in that mentality. Like, I'm never gonna say, oh, in order for me to be successful, I need to make sure London's not. No, if London's successful and I'm successful, and we can work together and we can fuel them, like, bro, that's how it's supposed to be.
I think
We
it's
have,
just.
yeah.
I think it's just because a lot of people they want to be that big dog. And to me, that's
What does that mean? I mean, I know what that means.
you know
but
how, say you walk in, for example, you walk into Alpha Lane and you like the hottest thing since sliced bread. They like that feeling. People say they don't like attention, but everybody likes attention. So they can walk in and be like, oh my God, it's Obi. Did you see that? What is Obi? They don't want nobody else to have that equivalent to them. I feel, at least.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I agree with that. But it's like, I don't know. I just, no, you know, you're right. That's gonna be for another episode. But you're right. I agree with that for sure. All right. Going on. See, it's important to understand your why, but also just like Linda talked about, you got to keep the right mindset and keep your heart cleansed, man, because it could be very easy to, fall down the wrong path. Talk about how people can sort of keep perspective, keep on tackling their goals, but not get too caught up with, maybe not having where they want to, maybe not getting to where they want to be yet.
I'm gonna say something that I would not say on this podcast because I'm not with this person, but we got my mind right. Was this last week or this week?
Yeah, last week.
Last week. So just situation, y'all always tell me about relationships and stuff. Y'all tell me to open up. Y'all tell me to let my heart in. Open
They
up.
say the same thing to me too.
They tell me this all the time. I did, y'all. I tried. I tried to let somebody in, and just a lot of things didn't go right. So I blocked my stuff off again. But they did have me tweaking a little bit. And I only tweak if I actually care about somebody. Mm-hmm. So they had my attention a little bit, and then I just caught them lying and stuff. Not that it even matters. But long story short is, Jesus Christ, you have to know your why. Mm-hmm. And Obi called me out on it, which I needed. He was like, I can tell she in your head, she doing this, get your mind right. Mm-hmm. And then ever since he said that, I just been like, I could have went to Austin this week. I could have went to Dallas this week for 4th of July. I just told myself I'm gonna stay back and just sit down this weekend and just get my mind right and get back into the vibe, because by you losing your peace, I'm big on peace now. Now, if somebody interrupts my peace, they're interrupting my mental, they're interrupting my day-to-day. Like, I was going to work mad. I was in the office listening to this. Like, at this point, they have more control over a lot of stuff. You're letting them do that. So you have to come in with a clear heart, clear mind, clear soul. Like, your mental have to be great, and you have to come with the same plan every day. What is your why? My why is to financially be extremely financially stable, where I don't even have to worry about swiping my card ever. Yeah, that's my goal. 2, I'm still doing this cut journey. I'm taking a diet break, but I'm about to get back on it. Like, I haven't been eating healthy, I'll be honest, but like, that's still my goal, is to just lean out fully. And 3 is to bulk back up, have a full physique, and maybe potentially compete, and also grow this podcast, and also support anybody that I really rock with and go to the top. That's my why. That's always been why. And make sure everybody in Detroit that is not, I can elevate them still. Mm-hmm. And if I can do that and pass away and everything was good, I have had a good life, and make sure my kids are good. That's my why. And then anything through that does not happen and mess up your journey, then you're giving too much energy to that, and you should stop. That's my piece.
Speak on it. Boy, London came in dropping the gems and opened up for y'all, man.
Yeah, I wasn't going to open up about that, but I said, who cares?
What other podcast brings you the gems and full transparency? No other one.
Tell you about what's going on in his life today.
Most definitely. Yeah, and you kind of already segued into the next thing, kind of what really is the life that you want. I think it's important for people to kind of understand that. I talked about that earlier in the episode, but I think it's really important that we hone down. Like, do you want to live a simple life as a person? A simple meaning you have your bills paid, you're able to have your family, you're able to kind of, afford what you need to afford, you're able to buy things, and that's just what it is? Or do you want a luxury one? A person like a Mr. Organic, and you're able to have mansions, have cars, have animals, be able to, money's not a factor. You want to attain great wealth, whatever. Huh?
Animals.
Animals, man, exotic animals. And,
it's a different type of rich. Tigers and lions.
What is that? I think people really need to ask themselves that question. But more importantly, once you get your answer, do you understand what that lifestyle is going to look like and what you got to sacrifice? Because I think people like to see the riches, they like to see the glamour, but they don't like to see, the downside, like for women, right? Because me and the homies, we go out and we interact, we have these kind of in-person interviews with a lot of, women these days to really get the answers. I talked to you about this, and, many women across the board want a man who's financially stable. And then when we probe them on it, it's like 6 figures plus to 500K to $1 million ball player. I'm like, okay, cool. Then the question I like to ask is, okay, do you understand what that lifestyle is going to look like? I had 2 parents who did it. People aren't going to be as present as you want. If you're thinking he's going to be making all that money and then be at home with you all day, every day, it's not going to be the case. Do you understand that? I'm not saying you shouldn't want it. I'm saying you got to understand what that means. Right. And then if you do understand that fully and you're okay with it and you accept it and you're bought in fully, then no problem. And that's all I tell people to kind of be cognizant of. What do you think?
Do you know what you said that was so interesting to me? You said, "Are you aware of what comes with that?"
Mm-hmm.
The whole they're not going to be there all the time. They're going to be traveling. They got stuff to do. I think something that, and I could be wrong. This is what I've come across. I got to say that now because people say whatever you're going against women.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women say we don't communicate. I only know the people I hang out with. The people I think I hang out with communicate very well. And the women that we've been around, I don't feel like they communicate that well. So for me, it's like you want like Brittany Renner. They asked her when she was on the Cam Newton podcast.
Yes.
How much? She said 100,000 and up. So I was okay. If she could say 100,000 and up, then anybody under her in my head should be okay with somebody making 100,000 because that's a lot of money a year. People don't think that's a lot of money a year. It's not. That's a lot. That's not like just some chump change. I think middle class starts at like, I think it probably went up now because of inflation, but maybe 50, 55. Like it's not hard to get in the middle class, but it's like, it's just something that women have to understand what comes with. Like, you can't just say you want a man who has all these luxury things and still that comes with more attention from women. That comes from more obligations and more responsibilities. You can't put all this time into you. Are you okay with that? Or do you want the nice suburb, Cypress, Woodlands, Katy lifestyle, which I'll be cool with that, honestly. Because like there's a lot of rich people who live over there that we just don't know about. I'd rather just be rich and not famous. I don't want to be famous because I like being low key and like
me too.
Yeah, like I like being like that. Like when I walk somewhere and people be like, they don't even know what the heck I'm doing. So I just be like, it's cool. That's my type of lifestyle. But I won't want no exotic animals or tigers or I do want cars though and shoes. That's it. In a big house. That's it. Anything else, I don't really care about and can travel and provide for my family. If I can have those four, I'll be cool.
That's facts. I mean, for me, it's just want to be able to afford whatever, like the ability to swipe your card, not even have to think about how, like, you just do it. That's the level of wealth I want to get to. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and not have to think about nothing. Just boom, all right, swipe, boom, or hey, pay it in cash. Like I could look at, like, I think when I was younger, one of the like funnest times whenever you could go to the mall when you had money. You didn't even have to buy anything. You just could go and you knew whatever you wanted, you could get. Like that's the ultimate. Like if you could be like that 24/7, I think that's the best. And then obviously I'm into fragrances. Like, so I'm gonna just get that, like have a whole fragrance room and then start a fragrance line. That's a little bit further down the road, but I'll say that here on the podcast. So, when we look back on these later down the road, we'll be able to say I said it this time and I meant it. It's stuff like that. And then have my nice little daily car, have my nice little weekend car.
How many cars do you want?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. Yeah, I'd be cool with 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
And then wife has maybe 2.
Yeah, wifey has her 2, 3. I mean, she's probably gonna be like-minded, so she's probably gonna want a daily that she can get around, especially if we're gonna be living in Texas or some type of big city. She'll have her little gas car that's fuel efficient. Then if she wants to, go out with her girlfriends in her nice one, and boom, she can get in on that and take it around. If she want to take mine, we'll have like one that we share. If she's not too big into that, boom, we can just do that. And then make sure that my kids ain't never gonna be hungry, and just be able to educate them, really be able to. And I think part of me wanting to be wealthy is also so I'm able to be present when I need to. Like I don't want to be the type of parent who is like, oh yeah, dad never came to my games, dad never did this, that. Nah, when I need to go to an event, I can go to an event, and you can only do that whenever you're financially well off. If you're having to worry about, man, I can't miss this work, nah, I'll never want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's my thing. It's simple.
Do you think a woman will cheat on a super wealthy man or a middle class man? Which one do you think is more to?
I'll tell you, no, she's gonna more likely cheat on the middle class man because he doesn't have the lifestyle, more likely than not. I mean, you think about it, the lifestyle that we've talked about this before, the lifestyle that a 6-figure, high earning man can earn, like he's in the top 10% of earners. So she knows she can't find one of him as easily as she can find a middle class earning man. She can find another one of those, she goes to the store and she, just, hey, boom. So I think it's easier for her to do that and get away with it. That guy also is not going to nearly have the same level of self-respect or abundance about his mindset. So he's probably going to be more likely to stay with her, as opposed to saying, yo, you cheated. That's not going to ever be acceptable. You know what I'm saying? So I think should more likely cheat on the middle class earner, to answer your question. Hey, man, you asked the question. I ain't going back down. All right. Now, as we wrap up, it's just important to keep perspective and ensure that you are not improving as a means of keeping up with the Joneses, but rather so you can live a happy and fulfilled life that way. So just give your final testament on, improvement and keeping the right energy. What would you say?
Keeping up with the Jones. That's a good. You would never. I don't know. You give me your insight on this one. I'm kind of at a with this one.
I mean, I'll just say that it's kind of the theme of what we've been talking about throughout this conversation is just, I think a lot of people get caught up with, I have to maintain the look in order to even get in the door, right? And that people put themselves in debt trying to buy the jewelry, trying to buy the rent out things, rather than actually getting to a point where they work hard to really be able to afford the lifestyle so they can practice what they preach. People are really artificially minded, I think, more likely than not. So it's like if, oh, you don't have the following, you don't have the money, you don't have the jewelry, you don't have this car, you don't have this or that. So people fake it. They fake it, and then that's where people are like, oh, people ain't shit. Guys lie, women lie. It's like, yeah, I mean, you don't really give them a choice, because if they don't have it, you're not gonna look their way. They're invisible, more likely than not. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's just a matter of, look, at the end of the day, you have to know what you want and believe in delayed gratification and believe in yourself. Know your worth. If people aren't seeing your potential, if people aren't seeing your value in the present moment, that's okay. You guys just aren't aligned, because at the end of the day, it's never going to be enough for people who have that mentality, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So it's better and it behooves you to actually get to a point where you can be the person you want. You can attract the person that you want to attract. And then from there, I put in the work, and my fruits, my labors bear fruit. And that's my thing. That's my.
See, Obi gave y'all a better answer than I was gonna give y'all. But I can kind of brush off it, because he just got me in the mood with that. He got me focused for this gym day. I hate everybody now. But no. Literally, like, this generation is so backwards. Like, I hate it. Like, I think it's been like this. Just as a world, like, just, if you get lost in it, man, it's so easy to get lost in that and just keep trying to be fake and do what everybody just so you get to the top. That's never been me. Like, I just can't fake who I am. If I don't like you, I don't like you. If I like you, I like you. If I don't want to speak to you, I'm not going to speak to you. It's very simple in my book. So it's like, I'm not about to sit here and go do what Johnny Bravo doing it, because he up there, like, he did it his way. That's good for him. I'm going to do it my way, and hopefully my way works. Because if it works, that's why I did it, because I was being me the whole time. I couldn't feel cool. I'm sorry. Getting on somebody else's coattail and then just getting it that way. I wouldn't feel successful.
Well, here's the thing, though, that I have the ability to acknowledge. First, like, you're gonna lose out on a lot of opportunities, guys. A lot of women, man. You're gonna lose out on a lot of them. If you have my mentality, where I'm not gonna sell my soul to maintain a look. I'm just not, right? You're gonna lose out. The girls aren't gonna be attracted to you, at least not in the moment while you're building. That's okay. Don't focus on that, because if you focus on that, you're gonna get caught up and you're gonna get distracted, right? But it's about maintaining your self-respect. That to me what it boils down to. But then on the flip side is that there are beautiful quality women who aren't bought into those things. They exist, because mentors have to kind of get on me about that. Like, yeah, I hear what you talk about. I hear your mentality. My dad and I, when we have these conversations, he's like, Mike, I get it, but you need to chill out sometimes. And I'm like, you're right. So they exist, but if they are harder to find, you just have to be more diligent on the type of people who you choose to interact with, who you choose to try to date. And don't get caught up in, oh, I'm trying to appease her so that way. And so as a result of appeasing this one, I have to sacrifice my self-respect as a result. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be more diligent and keep on the course. And eventually, if you have the patience, if you have the diligence, you're gonna find what you need and you're gonna find what you want. And at that point, you're gonna take more pride in it. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thing.
Well put.
All right, my man. All right, let's go ahead and finish up then, man. So again, I feel like good conversation. Hopefully, people are able to take this and learn from it, be able to have some perspective. And, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to, hey, we're all grinding, we're all trying to be better, and that's great. But just always maintain perspective and understand that we're running a marathon, not a sprint. If you try to run the sprint mentality, you're going to gas yourself out. You gas yourself out, you're not going to be ready for the long haul down the road. That's my final gem.
My final gem is never forget your why. Always stick to the plan. Always stick to the script. Never break it because somebody else is doing something differently. I don't know. I think this podcast was more educational for me. It's probably the most I got in my mood from after a podcast. So that's kind of good if I can have a podcast and get focused. So that means that just got me locked in. So if anybody else is feeling the same way, then just don't fall off the tracks. That's all I can say.
Most definitely. All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of Foresight. Again, we appreciate y'all who continue to rock with us, give us your feedback, tap in with us. You can continue to do so by following me on at ob.mike56 on IG and follow our podcast page. Send us your questions, your episode suggestions. We'll get them done for you. London, go ahead, plug.
My IG is London_Ogletree. Follow me if you want. If not, it's cool. But no, I appreciate you guys so much.
Most definitely. We'll catch y'all next week. Much love to y'all. We out.
That's it. I'd rather go out on my sword than have my mind tapped. The ones with eyes can never see, I make the blind clap. I'm bringing back that type of sound that wants divine rap. Divine rap, homie.